something didn't go as planned. I felt like such a super businesswoman handling important things like power of attorney. We have 3 layovers ahead, so it's going to be tough, but we'll manage. Knowing us, I wouldn't count on anything going smoothly, because things always seem to go wrong for us. Should be interesting. This is Flying to Vietnam vlog. We've already taken the train from Minsk to Moscow, and now we've arrived at the airport. The latest news is that our Russian SIM cards aren't working, neither mine nor Nikita's. The network is detected, but nothing else. First travel tip: never dress too warmly when flying. Seriously, don't do it. My jacket is almost on my baggage. I took off my warm sweatpants, and yet I'm still too hot. Meanwhile, my boyfriend has already changed into his summer outfit. Here we are in the check-in line. So we've got rice with chicken, some desserts, vegetables, ham and a bun with sauces. I have the same thing. Pretty cool. Hi everyone, my name is Masha and this is my first YouTube video. It's about moving to Vietnam. I've been in Da Nang for about a month now, and I want to share my key details about apartment rent, the flight, the visa process, and my first impressions of the city and the move itself. First question: why did we choose Vietnam and Da Nang? Initially we considered Thailand, specifically Bangkok. I really liked it. It's a mega city with lots of skyscrapers. But after doing some research, we realized that getting a visa for Thailand was quite complicated. As Belarusians, we could only stay visa-free for 15 days. To stay longer, we'd have to prepay all the accommodation and buy return tickets. Alternatively, you can go through an agency, but the charge was around $500–600 per person, which is a lot. So after that, we decided on Vietnam. Also, my boyfriend has a friend living there who told us a lot of interesting things about the country, and we decided to come here. I think Vietnam is one of the most underrated places for travel and long-term stays. There are several advantages. Getting a visa is much easier. It's done online. You can rent apartments at reasonable price, eat delicious food, and the cost of groceries and dining out is also relatively low. We were choosing between Da Nang and Nha Trang, but Nha Trang is smaller, more of a relaxed resort town. Da Nang is bigger, with more high-rise buildings, beautiful bridges and more urban vibe, which is why we choose it. I think I watched every single YouTube video with Da Nang in the title, and I was convinced I wanted to come here and see it for myself. Do we need a visa to come here? What I'm about to say applies to Belarusian citizens. I have a Belarusian passport. You can enter Vietnam without a visa, and they will stamp your passport upon arrival for a 45-day and submit your contact information. Alternatively, you can apply for a 90-day e-visa online. It takes about 4 or 5 days to process. You just fill out your details, upload your passport and submit your contact information. I read that it's easy to do it yourself, but since it was our first time, we decided to use an agency to make sure everything was done correctly. And for both of us, a multiply entry visa, including agency fees, cost $130. That's how videos are recorded in Vietnam. How did we fly and what was our route? This is probably a story worth of its own video. We originally searched for flights on aviasales.com, monitoring them for weeks to find the best deal. But when we tried to pay, none of our Belarusian bank cards worked, even though other people in travel forums said they had no issues. We spent about 5–6 hours trying different payment methods before finding a suggestion in a chat about using Trip.com. Surprisingly, their prices were even lower than aviasales.com, about $20–30 cheaper. I entered my card details, fully expecting another failed transaction, but the payment went through instantly. For both of us, including baggage, it cost $626, of which $10 was a paid notification service to alert us if our flight was cancelled or rescheduled. So technically we could have paid $616. What was our route and how did we fly? Our route was Moscow, Haikou, Hong Kong, Da Nang. There's 3 flights and 2 layovers, and we had to get from Minsk to Moscow by train, which costs about $70 for both of us. The main challenge was that we didn't have a single ticket, so at each layover we had to go through an entire security process, pick up our luggage and recheck in. It was a bit exhausting. On top of that, I didn't feel well. I got motion sickness on the plane, which had never happened to me before. I was nauseous, had a headache and felt completely drained. All I wanted was to get to Da Nang in one piece. So my advice to everyone, bring motion sickness pills, even if you've never had issues before, because you never know. The first flight was the longest, Moscow to Haikou, 9.5 hours. It was Hainan Airlines. As for the flight itself, everything was comfortable, except for my poor health. We were served 2 full meals, hot food with a variety of drinks, juices and even alcoholic beverages. Each passenger was given a blanket, a pillow and a kit that included socks, a sleep mask, a toothbrush and toothpaste, if I remember correctly. We had monitors where you could play games, watch movies, TV series, listen to music, track the flight on the map, basically any kind of entertainments you could think of. Next we have 1.5 hours flight from Haikou to Hong Kong and 2 hours flight from Hong Kong to Da Nang. What surprised me was that they served food on this shorter flight too. It wasn't a hot meal, but there was a snack box with a drink, a bun, a chocolate bar and some strange Chinese thing we didn't eat. Still, you won't go hungry. For what I know, in Belarus, for example, on side short flights there is usually no food unless you pay extra, so there was a nice surprise. Another interesting question, do people in China speak English? For the trip, I kept hearing that nobody in China speaks English, even in airports, but that wasn't true. Every airport staff member I encountered spoke at least some English, some better than others, but I had no major issues communicating. So I don't know where the stereotype comes from. Maybe I was just lucky, but I can't say that no one in China speaks English. Also in China, there is a cool thing where every officer at the checkpoint has a tablet with a translator. They can speak in Chinese, and it translates into Russian or other languages for you. And you can also type in Russian, and they'll translate back into Chinese. But honestly, it didn't help me much. When we arrived in Haikou, a woman at the checkpoint asked me in English where I was going. I said Hong Kong, and she didn't understand. I stood there for 5-7 minutes trying to explain, even writing it down, but she still didn't get in. She called another employee who knew a few words in Russian. I explained that I was going to Hong Kong, and she didn't understand either. Finally, the word transit came up, and I said yes, I'm transiting, and they sent me to fill out an immigration card, which I should have done earlier. And after I filled it out, I went back to the counter, and no one asked me anything, they just stamped my passport and let me through. So the fact that they didn't know the word Hong Kong was pretty strange. In Hong Kong, something similar happened. When we were checking in for our flight, they asked for our return tickets from Vietnam. We said that we didn't need them, but the girl insisted we did. We showed her our visa, which was valid for 3 months, but she said we still needed to know where we were going after these 3 months and have ticket booked. We argued with her for a while, and then she called another employee who was insisted we need to return tickets. We kept saying no, we don't, and then they asked if we had a Visa or MasterCard and wanted to see it. They examined our card, handed it back and finally checked us in. It was weird. When we arrived in Vietnam, everything seemed fine at first. I dread that it's usually a light, calm process with almost no questions asked. But when I approached the counter, the officer took my passport and walked off somewhere. She came back without my passport and told me to keep waiting. I stood there for a while, running through every possible scenario in my head. Eventually, the border officer returned with my passport and explained she'd stamped the wrong page. I had to go and cancel the stamp. It was a bit stressful, especially since I was really feeling terrible, tired, sleepy and just wanted to rest. Finally, we arrived in Vietnam. We were tired, hungry, sleepy and I still felt awful. It was raining outside and was extremely humid. Honestly, our first impressions were far from positive. To top it off, we had a bad experience with the taxi. Everyone recommended the Grab app, saying it's cheap and easy to get from the airport to anywhere in the city. But it turns out the airport is outside Grab's zone. so we couldn't order a ride. We ended up walking around, confused. One guard told us we couldn't go in a certain direction, but another said we should have gone that way. Eventually we found a taxi, but it took forever to locate our hotel on the map. The driver kept turning the wrong way, then stopped to ask locals where the hotel was. We drove in circles for a while and I even cried because I just wanted to go home. It was a very mixed first day, and when we finally got to the hotel, we sat there googling where we could go next. What's the weather like here? In the first few days it rained when we arrived, and it was extremely humid. If you've never been to Asia, it might feel very unusual. I felt like it was hard to breathe, like every breath took extra effort. Then we had a couple of sunny days, but for almost a whole month it rained constantly. Only in the last few days has the sun come out and the weather warmed up. Before that, the whole month was cold, with temperatures around 68 degrees. I wore a warm hoodie and warm sports pants, and it was still chilly, especially when it rained and we were riding a motorbike. December is the rainy season here, so I expected rain and cooler weather, but now in January the rains are starting to ease up and the weather is improving. Have we tried any local food? Not much yet. The only local thing we've tried is banh mi, a Vietnamese baguette with lots of fillings like meat, egg or fish. It's pretty familiar and nothing too exotic for me, though it's a popular local dish. We haven't eaten at any local restaurants yet, as we've tried not to shock our stomachs. For now, we're either cooking at home or eating at cafes that serve familiar food like omelets, porridge, bowls and sandwiches. There is a lot of international food here, so it's easy to find something you are used to. I also want to mention that there are so many beautiful aesthetic cafes here. I've already saved dozens of them on my list, and I don't know how I'll visit them all. Every third place is super Instagram worthy, with lots of greenery and photogenic corners. Our first impression of the city. It's a very contrasting city. It's amazing how in one city and even in the same street you can have two neighboring buildings, one super stylish and beautiful, and right next to it something that looks like a slum. There is a contrasting, it's hard to describe, you have to see it and feel it. I think for people who've been to Asia before, this might not be surprising, but for those who are here for the first time, it's definitely interesting and unexpected. Also, a motorbike is an absolute must-have for getting around here, because there aren't many sidewalks. The only places where you can walk comfortably are along the river promenades, the beach and maybe a small area in the city center. Everywhere else the streets are narrow and the sidewalks are often blocked by bikes, shops and trash bins. Walking on the edge of the road isn't always safe or convenient. On a motorbike you can get to a destination in 5-6 minutes that would take 30 minutes on foot. At first I was scared to ride, especially in this chaotic traffic, but once you're in the flow, there's not so bad. Everyone drives at around 25 miles an hour and no one cuts anyone off, you just calmly ride with the flow. Finding an apartment. There is also a big topic, and I feel like I could probably share a lot about it. Our plan was to book a place for a few days and then search for a long-term rental. I contacted a Russian-speaking real estate agent to help us find a place, but honestly it didn't work out. He responded very slowly, and by the time he sent us options, they were already taken, so I recommended going with local agents. Maybe we were just unlucky, but when we got to Vietnam, we contacted 3 more Russian-speaking agents, and they were also very slow to respond. In the end, we realized we wouldn't find a place in 3 days, so we decided to look on our own. We searched on Facebook and contacted landlord directly. First apartment we viewed, we took. It's not perfect, but it's in a good area, quiet, close to the sea and the city center, with plenty of cafes nearby. Honestly, cafes are everywhere here. It's bright with lots of windows and a nice corner balcony. We rented it for 3 months, and after that our visa will expire and we'll need to do a visa round to another country to renew it. And if we decide to stay in Da Nang, I think we'll look for a different apartment, because this one isn't a 10 from 10. I think there are better options out there. The rent is $420 per month and about $30 for electricity and water. Also, the price includes 1 free cleaning per week, which is convenient. That's it. I've covered the main points I wanted to share, and I hope I didn't miss anything. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.